Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Shut Up and Do It podcast. I'm your host, Nick Allerud, creator of the Complete Deal Flow System and REI Accelerated. Also a fix and flipper here in the Boston area with a focus on multifamily, self-storage, and Ascension Capital. Today, we have my friend and fellow mastermind member, Javier Hinojo. Let me tell you about this guy for a second. So he and I sat next to each other in one of our first seminars, and he was talking all about his amazing companies based out of Raleigh, North Carolina. And he was doing 50 fix and flip deals a year. He was wholesaling 80 deals a year. And he was really focused on systemizing his business and getting out of where he wants to be. And now 2 years later, this guy has made a complete pivot, which he'll tell you about, and he's now working his way up to $1 billion in real estate on his balance sheet. We're going to talk about all that today. Javier, thank you for joining us, my man.
Awesome, Nick. It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
That's fantastic. All right, so here's the deal. We're going to hear a lot about these stories, but how did you get started in real estate? Let's go there first.
Hey, so I got a really good friend. He's a chiropractor here in Raleigh, and he suckered me into going to one of those weekend seminars, right? And
then I all get suckered into that.
Yeah, it was a Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And we went out there, everybody pretty much, these companies teach about the same thing. Then you got to take some action. So we took some action, and kind of the rest is history. That's how we got started. It was $35K, I think.
That was it. Well, first they had you raise your credit limits, right? Points of credit.
Yeah. I think we had to get like a peer-to-peer loan. Man, I was broke. It was a tough time in my life.
So what classes did you take with the Rich U?
We took like fix and flip, wholesale, kind of your basic stuff, right? Creative finance, just your basic classes, right? Fundamentals, enough to make you dangerous. Like I know you have a coaching program, which is great because you've done it before, right? You'd have actually done it and you're living it every day. That's the kind of coaching program I would recommend somebody. Is somebody who's actually actively doing it and can, knows what's happening in the market right now. It's not 5 years old or 12 years old, right?
For sure. Yeah. That's one of our big commitments actually, is to make sure we don't ever get out of the business, right? And do coaching full time. We have to be in the business. But let's get back to your stuff. So what brought you from learning to doing? What got you into the game?
You know what? I put in my Facebook group, hey, tell me 3 words that describes you. For me was fire, aim, ready, not ready and fire. I'm backwards, right? So halfway through, we were 2 weeks into our fundamentals class. We got a property under contract. My partner and I, we didn't have any money. He had just survived stage 4 cancer. So, him and I were just perfect match. We say, hey, we're going to make this work. And we had to find hard money and figure it out. And it was, long story short, took us 5 months to flip it, twice as much in rehab. We made $17K. It wasn't bad. And that was our first flip. And we sold it to a porn star. That's another story. That's another story. That was kind of cool.
I think I did hear that story, but yes, it was a good one.
Yes.
So what are the price points down there that you started with? This is in the Raleigh area or Charleston?
Yeah, about 6 years ago. I started 6 years ago. And man, the price point under 200K was awesome. This doesn't exist anymore. It's really hard. Around 280 back then, 250, 280. Now you're above 300s now, easily.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Yep. And as you started to take action, Javier, in your single family fix and flip world and wholesaling world, was there a transition in your head that you started doing, okay, I can do 3, 5, 6 deals a year into being a scaled model? Like, how did that work in your head?
Listen, so I think it's all about belief, right? I never thought I'm going to do 10 flips a year or 20 flips a year. Well, when I did one, I'm like, man, 17K, that was a lot of work. I need to do more. But not until I connected with people, right, that were doing 10 deals a year, 30 deals a year. That's when I said, oh, look, man, Javier can do that. I can do it, right? Flipping 50 properties, I ended up flipping 50 in a year, 50 something in a year, right? And then I wholesaled like 80 because it was just my belief system, getting it around people. Who you hanging out with, right? You hanging out with people that are going to keep you down or are not going anywhere. You may love them, they might be your family, but I mean, you gotta really watch your time. Hanging out with folks, having a great coach, having a great mentor and peers, joining masterminds, that's really what's going to make you scale, right? Because just the belief in yourself. You don't have to feel scared. Like, hey, I bet you right now, if I found a house in Boston, a great deal, all in at 65 cents on a dollar, and I'd be like, Nick, let's buy this. You'd be like, hell yeah. Or I'm swamped, but I know somebody who'll buy it with you, right? Because we have that connection. Connect. 100%. You got to connect, network.
1,000%. It's funny you said mindset because we were in the same boat doing 10, 12, and then I was doing 30 deals a year and I was capped there. I'm like, all right, I'm the man. I'm the best one in this market. No one's like me. I'm going to go off and do it. And then I was in one room where a guy flipped 100 deals a year. I'm like, holy shit. Like, I thought I was the man. I want to be that man. We can do it together.
Yeah, there you go, right? It's like, hey, and at the same time, in the same room, right? One of my favorite sayings is hang out with winners so your wins don't sound like you're bragging. Right. So I did 30, I did 100. Look, I'll give you another example. We raised about $2.3 million for a project. It took us like 3 weeks. And I was pretty excited. I went to a mastermind, talked to my buddy. I said, hey, man, I raised 2.3 million in 3 weeks. He's like, oh, yeah, I raised 6 on Saturday. I'm like, what? I'm like, this is awesome, right? Like, I want to do that. Now I want to raise 6 million on a Saturday, $6 million, $1 on a Saturday.
100%. And that's going to be what we end up actually chatting about on this podcast is how you can leverage relationships and JVs. But it all starts here. It all starts in elevating the mindset, elevating the people you hang out with. I love that.
That's right.
And you created, I mean, we haven't even gotten to the beginning of it yet, but you've also created a community of people that you are working with, right? On Facebook, essentially. Do you want to plug that now? Yeah. You can if you like.
Sure. It's a $1 billion multifamily and commercial real estate. That's the name of the Facebook group.
Yeah.
So there we share deal flow. There's people that partner up. We share a lot of things, a lot of videos, just a lot of the common questions, how I get started, how I find a deal, how do you partner, a lot of stuff we share. I know there's been a few people there that started working together on some projects, which is great. Hey, I'd love to work with everybody on the projects, but somebody might not like me, right? They might like Nick a little better. So they want to go partner with Nick, and I'm okay with that.
It's all about the bald guys stick together, Javier. It's just how we do it.
That's right. My hair is fake, man. It's all digital right now. It's all digital.
That's your Zoom background, the hair. I like it. Yeah. A lot of people are connecting with you on this, but I don't think a lot of people can see how we made a transition. But before we get to your transition to multifamily, I know you went through some bumps and hard stuff in the road. And that's the whole point of this podcast, right? With the Shut Up and Do It podcast, which is all about mindset and surrounding yourself with positivity. But let's talk about your hard road. How is your hard road and how did it start? And then how did you kind of come out from it?
Look, so, when I got started, actually, before I even started real estate, I had some money in a trading account that was not federally insured. And the guy was embezzling money and it came out in the news, and anyways, it was called a PFG Best. And so I pretty much lost my life savings. And then I saved up. I still own a locksmith company. We do, my dad runs it. And that was my business before a service company. I worked really hard for about 3-4 months and I saved as much money as possible. And then I moved my family to Mexico for a year. I took like a year off, right? I was living on rice and beans, but it didn't matter, right? I went to Mexico just to kind of enjoy my life, enjoy my kids, enjoy my wife. And as I was there, my mom passed away, unfortunately. I'm the oldest. Still, I had no money, had to come back, help with the funeral. Thank goodness for my sister. She helped a lot. And then I came back to the United States. A few months later, my buddy's like, let's go to this real estate thing where you're going to spend $35K. So I was pretty much tapped out, right? I was tapped out even jumping into the single family. We started flipping some properties. And at some point, I can tell you something. Cash is king. Manage your cash flow. You got to really do it. It's super important. People ask, if you could do one thing different, what would it be? I'm like, man, I just had more cash in my bank, right? Just managing cash flow because that'll help you from sleepless nights. So there was about a point in about 4 years ago, it was New Year's Eve, and I'm driving back home with my wife and my 3 kids, and I had to pay my rent. And I stopped at the ATM. I looked in the back, and then I asked my kids for their Christmas money so I can pay for my rent, so my check wouldn't bounce. Man, that night, I almost quit. I haven't cried in real estate, not yet. Maybe at some point I'll cry, but that night it was tough, right? I couldn't sleep all night. I thought I had failed my family, my friends, people that trusted me. It was really tough. It was so tough, but I just stay persistent. And if I could teach one thing is, don't quit, be persistent, don't quit. And I just didn't quit. And it just started escalating from there, like for the better.
So that was because of you took that big loss with that bank, the holding company, and you were in the fix and flip game at that point, or in the whole?
No, that was before. So that was before, and then coming into the fix and flip, I didn't really have anything, right? So people out there that say, "Hey, I need money, I need credit, I need this," you don't really need it, right? You just got to find the right partners you can partner with. You got to pay your dues at first. Maybe you're paying the 12% interest, 3 points, hard money, right? Or you're splitting the profit 50-50, but you pay your dues. Eventually, you make enough money, and then you can really, really get ahead, right? So that's how I did it. But at some point in time, I got super crunched on cash flow. and I had 32 cents in my bank account, right? And I had a whole bunch of bills to pay. I almost quit. That was the closest I ever came to quitting. So, yeah.
That's why I love this podcast so much, because there's so many people who can relate with you. And there's a lot of podcasts out there and a lot of gurus out there that talk all about the beauty of real estate, the beauty of empowerment and financial freedom, but no one goes through the hard shit, right? And you kept saying it over and over again. So I'm going to take this opportunity to plug my book. It's called Don't Quit. Only because you kept saying the words. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, you know what? And there's a sacrifice, right? I tell my wife all the time, hey, if I was single, I live in my car, I shower at the gym, I do whatever. I eat at the $1 McDonald's menu. It's not very healthy, but that's what I would eat. But I make it happen. But if you're married or you got a spouse or a partner and you got children, right? Something's got to give if you got a full-time job. So at the end of the day, most of the things, or the one item that's kind of neglected, is the family, right? The one that pays the price is the family, the wife, the kids, right? So, I ignored my family for like the first 2 years, 2-3 years. My wife would probably say 4 years, but I'll say 2. I should probably ask her, right? But, it was just not being present, right? Just being so busy, not being present. It was tough. It was, first couple of years was really tough. I'm just very blessed. I had a very supportive family. And the price that I paid was, taking time for my family to grow this business.
Indeed. Yep. But here we are. So From the single family side, before we do that, what kind of JVs and partnerships helped propel your single family business? And then we're going to finally get you to your transition as to what happened.
Yeah, for sure. So, at first I had a partner. So we did 50-50, right? Everything, we just did everything 50-50.
And he was the financial partner?
Yeah, a little bit of everything. I would bring some money. He'd find some money. I find a deal. He'd find a deal. It wasn't structured very well. We just like, hey, let's just go do it. Right. And we did quite a few flips and then started a development project out in the beach. And that's where we went our different ways. And by that time, you start telling everybody, hey, I'm doing real estate. I'm doing real estate. I'm doing real estate. I've said this before. If you tell somebody I got 3 nipples, right? And you put it on Facebook, everywhere, Instagram, hey, I got 3 nipples. Like, Javier, yeah, the guy with 3 nipples, right? Just tell everybody that you're doing real estate. And I don't have 3 nipples, by the way. Anyway, so that's how you start. That's how you start. You tell everybody, I'm doing real estate. I'm doing real estate. You take pictures of your demoing a wall and, before and after pictures. And people love that stuff. They love it. And I would just tell people, hey, Dad would ask me, what do you do? Say, hey, the HD TV show, kind of flip your house. Yeah, that's what I do. And they get all excited. Oh, that sounds great. And whatever, right? That's how we started the conversations. And eventually people said, hey, I got 10 grand, I got 50 grand, I got 200 grand, I got $1 million, right? It just started escalating. And at some point I had about, $3.5 to $4.5 million in private money from just people from a network, connections here locally to fund my flips.
Fantastic. And that's on the single family side.
Yeah.
So now that was when we sat next to each other in that room. And now I want to hear what actually happened the last couple of years of you making this massive shift, and you burned your entire thing to the ground. Tell me everything.
Yeah. So I think the first time you and I met was late 2019. It's about 14 months ago.
Yeah. 14, or I think it was 18. 14, might have been 2018.
I wanted to scale. I took my wife with me to the mastermind. I wanted to scale from 50 to 150, 200. I'm sitting with some guys from Charlotte, North Carolina, flipping 150 properties. I'm sitting with this other guy wholesaling like 1,000 properties a year, right? I'm like, holy crap, it's just insane. And I saw their businesses, very successful guys, right? Very successful, making a lot of money. And I saw the time, energy, and effort that was going to take to go from here to here. And I told my wife, I said, honey, I don't want to do this. Let's just quit. And she looked at me. I said, let's just buy commercial real estate and multifamily, self-storage, mobile home parks. And she looked at me, and the only thing she asked was, how much time do you need? Right? I'm like, oh, okay. And I said, 2 years. I didn't know any better. I just said 2 years. And I made that decision. The next day we got back home, I started selling my single family portfolio. I started letting my staff go. And I just started from scratch, building up, for the commercial side, right? Which is a different style of person that I needed. Everybody was great. It just wasn't going to be the right fit for the new business.
That's it. So, and was that the conversations you were having?
Yeah, that was it. And you know what? And I said, I'm going to buy, that was like in September, October. And I said, I'm going to buy my first building by the end of the year. I didn't know how. I didn't know when. I didn't know anything. And then I partnered up with a gentleman in South Carolina, and he helped me come along and learn a little bit on what it takes to buy an apartment building. And after I did that first one, then, we got 459 doors on our first year. Our goal was 32 million. We missed it. We did 27 million on our first year. So Our second year, our goal is 79 million. And right now we're going to close in the next 45 days, roughly around $42 million worth of property. So we pretty much double like right away. So we're pretty confident we'll hit our $79 million goal for this year. And
it started with the vision, right? And a voice inside your head saying, go here. And you're like, I don't know how to go here. I still have a single family business. I've got, I'm doing pretty well. But then your voice, yourself told you, burn it all down, right? You got to go over here. Is that what happened?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, think about it. Flipping 50 properties a year, making, in the mid 20s net, right? Per deal, right? After all expenses paid. Everybody's paid, marketing's paid. I mean, it's not bad money, right? But it's still a job. And I pretty much quit. So like having that steady income just stopped. So that was a little bit of a kind of burning your ships, right? It was put a fire in my butt. So look, I don't recommend that. That just worked for me. Okay, guys, that worked for me.
Nope, burning the boat sometimes works for some people. And you had a vision, you said, by the end of the year. So my story is a shampoo bottle. We won't get into that. I used to have hair. That was my accountability partner. We won't get into it. But you said, end of the year, going to have a deal together. Now, you didn't know the process or the how. You just had faith that you were going to get that deal by the end of the year. And by you putting it out in the universe, you went for it and you had some relationships. How did that first deal go? Can you go into that first deal for us?
Yeah, for sure. So, it's like, put it on the universe for sure, right? And have that faith, but you got to put some action behind it, right? Don't put out the universe and go watch TV, right? You're not going to, nothing's going to happen, right? You got to come on, start Facebook groups, your local networking areas, whatever it is. If I want to learn how to be a chef, I'm not going to hang out at the car show, right? I'm going to go hang out where chefs hang out, right? So I wanted to buy a multifamily. So I started hanging out multifamily Facebook groups, multifamily events, right? There's a lot of, events out there in the country. And that's how I started connecting. I have a friend that I met at an event. He's like, hey, I got a property in South Carolina. I'm like, okay, well, how can I help? Right? What do you want me to do? Right? I mean, I'll sweep, I'll do whatever. Whatever it takes, and that was it. Just have that attitude of saying, hey, look, I could either bring money, right? I can help fund a deal. I can help sign a loan. I can bring the project, right? Hey, if there's a project here in my backyard, I'm going to bring the deal. And you can partner that way. You get some of the equity. Or you run the construction, some aspect of the project. And there's a lot of different ways to partner. That's why I love commercial, just because you have a lot of team players. It's a team sport, right? It's a team business. And if you have the right folks in place, it's really good. It's very lucrative.
Totally. Okay. So in that first deal that you did, when you made those relationships, can you go over the structure of that deal?
Yeah, for sure. So on that one there, I helped do some underwriting and I helped do some estimates on the construction side, and I helped fund the project. I also helped fund the project from there. That's pretty much what I did on that one.
So they brought the deal to you. You met them at a networking session, and then you helped with those sides of it. Okay.
Yeah, those sides of it. And there's a couple of items that I helped on. It wasn't too much because I didn't really know much, right? I couldn't get a big responsibility like asset management, right? I don't know how to asset manage. Mm-hmm. So, on that first deal, I got a, pretty small piece of the pie, but I didn't really care, right? Just because I would have actually paid money, not got anything, just to sit and learn, right? Just to learn. Yeah, that was more valuable than what I'm going to make on that deal. Just the actual learning experience.
And that propelled you. So do you still hold that asset today?
Yes, actually, yeah.
Do you know any of the numbers on it as far as, entrance and exit and cash flow?
I think, if I recall, it's going to be about 5.2 million all in, and maybe around 5 million, 5.2. And the value of it's going to be about 7.5, 7.6. We're actually going to exit out of that here in the next couple of months. We're getting ready to do the refinance. So it's going to be, we're going to be able to refinance, get all our money back and some extra money, maybe $400,000 to $600,000 in refi proceeds. So it looks pretty good.
Fantastic.
It looks like a pretty solid deal.
And do you keep with that JV arrangement that you have there? Are you both staying in the deal in the same?
Yeah. After the refinance, everybody gets their money back and you still own whatever percentage you own. Yep.
Awesome.
Yep. So
brilliant.
You don't get kicked out for sure.
So that was a good one. And that propelled you then with that experience and now being a GP on that deal, that propelled you to your next one?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And then we bought a 208 unit in Tulsa, Oklahoma, all in about 7.5 million. Let me see, 7.3, 8 million, all in 8 million, worth about 11.5. Mm-hmm. Right. And then, that was a good one. The best one for me was a smaller purchase here in North Carolina. We bought it for 1.3 million, a 72 unit for 1.3 million. That's cheap. Trust me. And the very next day we bought it cash. And then the very next day we did a reverse, like a loan on it. The bank went out to, a couple of weeks later, they went out to do a appraisal on it, and their appraisal came back at 3.4. So super happy about that one. Yeah.
That's fantastic. On that second deal, to dive into the JVs and partnership arrangements that you created, you met a lot of these people during your networking. You mentioned a few facets that come into a deal equity structure. So number one is finding a deal, right? Number two is bringing the money to the deal. Three is maybe an underwriting expertise on the deal, right? Four is asset management. Five is construction management, right? Is anything else you can think of? Like you
need your loan sponsor, right? Somebody with a balance sheet that can actually has a net worth to sign a loan. So, and even if you have the net worth, but you don't have the experience, the bank might not lend you the money. But if you have the net worth and somebody else has the experience, you partner together and then you can buy a deal, right? So there's a lot of different ways to do it. But yeah, basically those other 5 points you made is a way to structure, and you can share the pie, right? And how do you share the pie? It just depends what kind of deal you got, right? If you got a deal that's 50 cents on a dollar, the GPs, you're going to get the bigger pie as long as your investors are making their decent, close to 20% IRR and hopefully between 10 and 15% cash on cash. That's a really good return as a limited partner. It's a great return. So at the end of the day, the equity structure doesn't really matter that much as long as your LPs are making their returns. Most LPs would be happy with a 10 to 15% cash on cash and 20% and above internal rate of return on a 2 to 3 year hold, right? It's not a 10-year hold, right? It'll be a short hold.
2 to 3 year hold for a refi or a sale?
Yeah, for a refi or sale, right? So if you buy it at a good enough price, if your model is to refinance it out, get all your money out, and you happen to miss that, whatever reason, interest rates are higher, cap rates are higher, the banks don't loan as much anymore, you can still sell it and you still make a lot of money. Oh yeah.
The only question would be, right, if those rates inch up or if that commercial capital side goes up, sometimes your cap rates will settle, right? And sometimes you might, but do you run stress tests or sensitivity tests, all that?
Yeah, we do. I mean, nobody can, I wish I had a crystal ball. I know what's going to happen in the future, right? I would have bet all my money on Tom Brady. Jeez. Anyways.
There it is.
Yeah, I know.
Reference for the Boston podcast. I love it.
Yeah. Even though he's with the Bucks, let me make that clear.
True story.
But I don't have a crystal ball, but if the cap rate right now in the area is 7%, we'll go ahead and underwrite it at 7.5%, right? I mean, hopefully it doesn't change that much in 2 years, but if it happens to go to 8%, we're still not that, it's not that bad, right? But if it happens to go to 7.5%, okay, well, that's the way we underwrote it. If it happens to drop, hey, even better, right? You always have to think worst case scenario. When we get a deal under contract, my partner and I, our job is to kill it, like kill a deal. Let's find out why we're going to kill this deal, right? And people are like, why are you trying to kill this deal? You sound so negative. No, we're not negative. That's what we're doing, which we want to kill it. That's our job right now, try to kill it. We want to close and kill it. It's strange.
I 100% understand that.
But you have to, because you don't want to buy a bad deal and then you spend time, energy, and money getting out of a bad. I bought plenty of bad rehabs, trust me. Time and energy spent trying to get out of a bad rehab, opportunity cost, right? I miss other deals. Money tied, time is tied, brain damage, all that stuff.
1000% agree. Your current structures, how many GPs are typically on your deals?
Look, so like on the last 2 that we closed, there's really just my partner and I on the GP side, right? So not 16 GPs. Actually, let me back up. We bought a mobile home park and I got a good friend, his name's Mike. So he's part of the GP as well. He put some money in the project and he lives 15 minutes from the mobile home park. So we give him some equity for being boots on the ground. Super smart guy, runs a very successful business, 50 employees. I'm not sure how many he has. So he's actually a GP on that one. But, we brought him on as a GP. He gets to learn and he gets to be our boots on the ground. And I know him as a good friend. It was perfect situation. Awesome. So got to get a good deal, got to have boots on the ground, and got to have a competent property management company that we know we trust or is a great referral. That's the only way we're going to buy.
That's it. And a solid, probably capital stack, solid financing source. And
yeah, for sure. We got to make sure that we can get financing for the deal, et cetera, right? Like the one that's 72 unit, it's in a small town in North Carolina, but it was such a good deal that I'm like, okay. And there was other agency loans out there and there were other loans that we felt pretty comfortable that we'd be able to, refinance out of it for sure.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So cool. So your GP typically, if you don't mind me asking, so you're at the equity stake that the GPs have and the LPs do you have a certain split there?
Yeah, for sure. Like if it's like the one in Havelock here, the 72 unit, I believe my partner and I, we kept about 75%. of that, maybe a little bit more. So I kept about 30 something percent. He kept 30 some percent. I don't know the exact same numbers. For the mobile home park, we also kept about 30 some percent equity on that. On the one in Oklahoma, I think we got like 15%. So we're buying another one in Houston right now, and that's more of a traditional syndication. We're actually only going to keep a small percentage, but we're collecting some fees up front. We're doing asset management, and then we'll do the waterfall effect, just like traditional syndication. At the end of the day, yeah, it's good to take a bigger chunk, but it's not really about the chunk you take. It's about the returns you can give to the investors.
That's it.
Right?
Yeah.
We're going to buy one in Houston. We're going to make some pretty good money. We might have a small ownership on it, but we're actually going to make, good cash flow, good money, management fees, that puts money in the bank.
Listen, if you didn't have partners, Javier, so if you didn't have JVs and partnerships, that sort of thing, how far do you think you'd get on your own? But not now. I'd say before when you started.
Yeah. Heck, even now, right? Even when I got started, yeah, it'd be even harder, right? It's easy and it's not easy, right? It's kind of strange, but for me, it's a little easier now because I've done it, for a long time. So it seems like normal, it's like going to work every day, right? So it's easy. But if you don't have the right team, the right partnerships from the beginning, and if you don't have money, if you have money, you get loans, you could probably do it on your own for sure. But if you're starting out, it's better a JV, partner up. I'm just being honest. Even in the future in bigger deals, right? I want to buy $100 million deal. Well, I don't have 25 million cash in my account. I need to connect with my partners. Be like, guys, let's partner together. Let's fund this deal together. This is what it looks like, right? It definitely, even now, actually, I think the bigger you get, I think the more partners you need because there's bigger assets to take down.
Amen. Yeah. And for our listeners, right? There's a whole bunch, because even just 10 years ago, I would not have been thinking as big as how Javier thinks either, right? But like, as you go and you surround yourself with higher level people, you surround yourself in these circles, you surround yourself with really leveling up your own mind and getting rid of any limitations, it becomes less and less like, oh my God, like $20 million. Like, how the hell am I going to raise that? Instead, it becomes how many phone calls, how many contacts do I have that can pull in that money within 2 weeks, right? Like,
that's right.
That's leveling up our game and leveling up your network is so key, which is why the topic today, JVs and partnerships and mindset, right?
Yeah. I mean, you got to that, right? I mean, it's a great point. You got to have your partners. Probably one of the biggest points a lot of people don't talk about is you got to make sure your partner at home, right? Your significant other and your family is on board. It's challenging enough to do it, this business. And if you have somebody at home that doesn't support you, it's a little bit more challenging. So that's another subject, guys. That's definitely another subject. It's definitely tough.
A lot of them know my personal stories. 2 divorces later, I can agree with you 100%.
Oh, okay.
That leads us to our closeout questions here, Javier. So we have a couple questions that we like to ask, but you just touched on a really, really good one, which now, balance is really, really hard. I don't even necessarily agree with balance, but curious, are there any specific routines that you do every single day, put you right for the day?
I don't really have a routine. I need to get a coach to help me focus and help me with routines. Look, I've read one book my whole life, right? And it was like a 16-minute read called Mikey and the Dragons. A lot of pictures, big letters. I loved it. It was awesome.
That was the one I did in my presentation at the mastermind. Did you notice that?
Yes, that's the one. That's right. You did the presentation. And that is the first book I ever read. And I read that book. And that's when really, like I said, okay, I can do this, right? Because the dragons aren't as big as you think, right? Everybody thinks like, oh man, $20 million. But once you do it, it's like, you try to tell everybody else, hey, it's not that hard, but people don't care. Like, oh no, the dragons are too big. It's not that hard. They don't care. And that book's perfect. You can be 3 years old, you can be 80 years old, and that book is good for you. Yes, that's right, Nick. You did the presentation because I almost cried. Actually, I think I cried a little bit. My wife was, that is true. So thank you so much for that, Nick. You're a big part. That one presentation that you were really humble. It was a very humbling presentation that you did up there. It was awesome. I mean, I remember that. Yes, it was awesome. Look at that, man. Out of that presentation, I read my first book, and that gave me that book really encouraged me to do multifamily. Like really say, hey, the dragons are as big as you think, right?
This was huge, man. Thank you.
It just hit me. It just hit me right now. It was, this is awesome. This is super cool, man. This is like unexpected.
Well, again, there are no coincidences. So again, for the benefit of our listeners, very quickly, sure. I was in a very, very dark time in my life when I was in the mastermind, and I met Javier for the first time. And for the first time ever, I decided to go extremely vulnerable in a real estate mastermind presentation. And I didn't do it for me. I did it because the night before, my voice told me, all of the shit that you're going to talk about is bullshit. Like most of the people in the mastermind already know the strategies and mechanics that you're about to teach. Go with where your gut is, which was my routine and how my routines had been completely screwed up with going through a really, really tough relationship. And we're now looking at this. This is 2 years later, we're having this podcast recording. And, that's been my journey over the last year and a half has been similar to yours, Javier. Yours has been more on the multifamily side. Mine has been all internal, all on getting my mind right, all about making sure that I hit my targets, personal targets, family targets, meditation targets, and business targets at the last part. But Mikey and the Dragons is where it all started. Because there's a Jocko Willink book. If you haven't seen it, I'm going to plug him right now. And as Javier said it the best, it's for 3-year-olds, which is how I initially put it out there to the universe, reading it to my kids. And as I'm reading it to my kids, I'm realizing how much this applies to adult life. And it totally made me basically bawl my eyes out in front of a group of 20 real estate investors that were very high powered across the country.
Yeah. And man, honestly, that was amazing. And you know what? So I appreciate that, because out of that, I have 3 copies of that and I read it all the time. So, I don't really read, right? I don't really have routines. So, I was like you asked before is, what's your routines? I don't really have it. My routines go crush the day. Right. I should have routines, because if my wife was here, she'd probably say, hey, I want you to be more present. I don't want you working late. And, I would totally understand that. And she understands that, I'm an entrepreneur, and that's like a fire that feeds me inside. Like if she was to say, hey, you got a week by yourself, what do you want to do? Do I want to go meditate? Do I want to go fish? I'm still in building mode. I don't want to work, right? Because I'm in building mode. At some point, I'll be in relaxed mode. But it's just a fine balance. It's so hard. Because when I think, I haven't spent time with my kids, I haven't spent time with my dog or my wife, is way too late. She already thought about that way before you did. So you're already in trouble. So just don't say nothing. Go grab some flowers. Start slowly. I've been married 23 years and I've become a professional apologizer.
For better or for worse. Okay, there's one strategy.
yeah. But I think if I really focus and had a routine, I think I could accomplish more.
I will say this too. I'll put this out there. So one thing that's obviously helped me, and my challenges, Javier, more than most people, but one thing that's significantly helped me is a scheduled date night every single week. Yeah. And no phone. Because I used to do date nights with my phone. Then I would get shit like, you're not here, you're on your phone. Like, what are you doing? So date nights without your phone. But I'll give you even one further tip. A lot of our wives, we're all type A, we're all entrepreneurs, we're all real estate investors, we're pushing. They're not going to see this podcast. So I'll tell all the men who are watching this another tip. I got a tip once saying every single date night you do, take a photo or a selfie. And then in the 3 or 6 months, or for her birthday or for Christmas, you get a Google photo book made of all those pictures and you give her that gift. And it's the best gift you could possibly give. Huge points, man. Huge points.
Awesome. Okay, we'll do that. Hey, so on my Facebook page, if you guys want to follow me on Facebook, just my name, Javier Hinojo, or Twitter, Instagram. I'm probably my dad and myself, or the only ones with that name. But just last week, I just did a quick live, improv, just like, honey, what is the worst and the best thing about being married to an entrepreneur, right? I had no idea what she was going to say. And geez, this, right? So it was pretty cool, right? For her comments, started going down the list. I'm like, hey, I said one thing. I stopped the Facebook Live and she just kept going down the list, like negative, a lot of negative, positive, but a lot of negative, right? So for sure, I would love to get back into one of these when the conferences open up again, going to like a couples retreat for entrepreneurs. I think that's just great. I know I'm going to get beat on the head with a hammer, but I'm okay with that. I'll take it. And I have to be willing to change, right?
I love that. We're all working constantly on those 4 things, right? Our relationships, our business, our kids, and our own selves, our fun, our fitness, whatever we can work on. So with you. Last question that we have is, this is off the cuff. You didn't know this was coming. What's your favorite purchase you've made under $100 in the past year or two?
Under $100, favorite purchase. Hey, so I sit down a lot. Man, being a real estate guy, you sit down all the time on the computer. So I bought these things that go on your leg. They wrap around, you push a button, and it compresses your leg in and out. So it helps you with circulation. Ooh. So if you guys get your feet swell up or things like that when you're sitting down a lot, buy those things. It just squeezes your legs. I don't even know what they're called, but they were like $69, $70.
Nice one. That's a good one. Very cool. Yep. That's awesome. So you mentioned your Facebook profile. How else can people get a hold of you and get in touch with you?
Yeah, YouTube. I got some videos up on YouTube. Also, just search my name, Javier Hinojo. Instagram, Javier Hinojo. I'm a junior, just in case you see it on there. Facebook, Twitter, Grindr, whatever. Right? There's a lot of different social media sites.
There
All
is.
right. Hey, I got 4 questions for you.
Oh, okay then.
All right. 4 questions for you. Okay. All right. So,
This is the first time this has ever happened, by the way.
all right, good. That's good. My wife's just standing right in front of me, distracting me. Okay.
Grinder?
Oh, my wife she just heard a grinder. Like that's all she heard in the background. She's over here mad at me. Yeah, honey, that's how we met. No. All right. So 4 questions for you. Is cereal a soup?
Is cereal a soup?
Yes.
No.
Okay. All right. There's no right or wrong answer. You get a pass. You only get 1 pass. Okay. So choose it wisely.
They're hard. Okay.
Yeah. What came first, chicken or the egg?
Ooh, I'm going to say chicken.
Okay, guys. All right. What's your favorite curse word?
Favorite curse word? Ooh. I mean, I only usually curse when I'm talking to my construction team, but I'll say shit. Shit's my favorite curse word.
Okay. And the last one is, if you could take any celebrity out on a date, who would it be?
Oh, Jennifer Aniston.
Oh, okay. Good job. All right, awesome. You didn't take a pass. Awesome. You answered all questions.
I appreciate that. First time that's ever taken the turn.
Yeah. So, hey, look, now people get to know, I'm sure people know you already, your personality, but now they get to know more of your personality, right?
That's awesome. Thank you for that, Javier. That's awesome.
Thank
you. You guys can check Javier out at his Facebook group, his YouTube channel videos, his what's Facebook group called again? So everybody has it.
$1 billion multifamily and commercial real estate.
Yeah, awesome group. Tons and tons of value there. Tons of value in this podcast. Thank you so much, Javier, for your time, your energy, your attention, and your stories today. Fantastic. Any one bit of advice you want to give people?
Don't quit, right?
Just
don't quit. Be persistent.
There it is. I love that. Well, folks, thank you so much for taking part in another episode of the Shut Up and Do It podcast, where we bring as much value as we can by sharing top quality speakers, presentations, and topics on everything involving real estate, business, and mindset. Huge thank you today to Javier, who spoke today on JV's partnership, mindset, including some balance stuff at the end. We had a fantastic conversation. Be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons at the bottom to help us with the algorithms to help kind of share these podcasts out there. If you're on iTunes, feel free to subscribe. We appreciate you. And head on over to shutupanddoitrealestate.com for all of our episodes. And if aside from that, if you're local to Boston, be sure to check us out on our Facebook groups, REI Ignition and AA Real Estate Group, for access to our deals and access to what we are coaching on a day-to-day basis. Javier, thank you once again. Huge thanks for your time and energy today.
Thank you, Nick. It was a pleasure.
All right. See you all on the next episode. I got to start recording right now. Hold on.
Oh, record. It's just too close.
Absolutely.
How about that?
Oh, my hero. Look at that.
It's still too close. He's like overpowering, It's like, I don't know. I don't know. If you're a Harry Potter fan, there we go. Right.
Oh, you got where are you getting these from? Do I have these?
Well, how about this? The next COVID 2.0? Yeah. Anyway.
That's the best one.
I do my logo, right? Capital Group, right?
That's awesome.
Or my Buffalo Bills.
Ooh, doesn't fly with us New England fans up here.
I can't wait till Tom Brady gets the hell out of the NFL, man.